Good afternoon and welcome to Craven Cottage for the preview of Fulham versus Chelsea. The first time that we've played here, it was actually the 1st of March 2014. So it was actually 5 years ago today that Andre Schürrle scored a hat-trick in a 3-1 win. I'm joined by Louis from 100% Chelsea. I'm very well, thanks. Actually, no, I'm not very well, but that's because Fulham are going down. Chelsea just beat Tottenham. How are you feeling about that?
Oh, I'm buzzing. I love beating Spurs. For me, so when I was younger, 8 years old, Carabao, what was Carling Cup final then, headed to Wembley for the first time. Saw Chelsea lose the first time. Yeah, it was against Tottenham. So every time we beat them, it feels better. I satisfy that little boy inside of me every time. So it's kind of a case of, you know, beating Spurs is great. Also, when they love to give it large and fail miserably, you know, if we're talking about clubs with a small mentality, Tottenham Hotspur, you know, they say they're a Champions League club, but let's be honest, they don't think like one. So, yeah, just have to get that off my chest. Thanks for the win. Thank you for reminding me.
No worries. What goal did you celebrate more? Kieran Trippier's free kick against Croatia or his own goal the other day?
Oh, mate, the own goal was better than Croatia. The way he rolled it, it's the side foot, slowly into the bottom corner. Beautiful finish.
A fantastic finish from Kieran Trippier, and you know, I don't want to slate Kieran. He gave me one of the best moments of my life. So anyway, Maurizio Sarri and Kepa Arrizabalaga. I know it's a little bit late onto the scene, but have things maybe calmed down now?
I'd say so. I think if people that are still talking about it in the media and stuff, like if you look at Sky Sports and that, I think they're just flogging a dead horse now. I think it's kind of a case of like, look, Kepa, he admitted he did wrong. He fined a week's wages, went to the Chelsea Foundation, which is amazing. Went straight into charity work. Sarri, I think part of me thought it was unnecessary to drop Kepa, but the larger part of me thought, you know what, he needs to kind of show what he's about now, Sarri. And you know, he dropped and said, look, you know, you did this, you're now going to be dropped for this game. I couldn't tell if he'd back in for this game here. I think the one game ban, as it were, would be a far better option, and I think, you know, I'd rather see him come back into the side. But for me, I think that, you know, the situation's been handled. I think, you know, I personally think it was handled correctly. A lot of Chelsea fans may disagree. I think that a lot of people felt that the week's wages was enough. But I think player power is a large part of Chelsea Football Club, and I think that's almost it feels like that could be the board and Sarri finally being coherent on something, and you know, saying to him, look, you do whatever you feel is necessary, and we'll back you on it. And you know, it was kind of a breath of fresh air.
Let's talk about the transfer ban. I woke up to some wonderful news saying that you've been banned for, was it 2 windows? You've appealed it. You know, it might still swing your way, but. Yeah. But the first thing I thought about was Eden Hazard. If you don't qualify for Champions League this season, if you don't win the Europa League, what's happening to Eden Hazard? Because obviously you're allowed to sell players, and he will be eyeing that move to Real Madrid. Am I correct? Yes.
I think the question remains now if Real Madrid want him. I'm not 100% certain they do. I mean, they've been linked with Neymar again quite heavily. And I think that could be a transfer which they prefer. I think he's the better option out of the two. That's not just me trying to say I want to keep hold of Hazard. I think Neymar, you know, if you want a player that's going to be your talisman, that will score you goals week in, week out, get those assists, basically be that numbers player which you had on Ronaldo, which, you know, if they want to try and emulate that, it's going to be very hard, if not impossible. I think Neymar will be the closest to it. Eden Hazard, I think, for me, I've been waiting for him to go. Not in a way that I've wanted him to leave, but I've been waiting for that transfer to come through since the last game here we played you. I mean, that season was the first time I was there, like, he's probably going to go. Me and my dad would walk home from football or getting off the train and say, yeah, he's probably going to leave this summer. I've said that every year. I think that, you know, if we do sell him, if we don't get the transfer ban, or don't get the transfer ban for this window, sorry, because it is going to happen. It is going to be black market in the Black Friday in the summer. Or black market if some people want to talk about Roman Abramovich. Fair play to if they want to put it that way. But I think Black Friday in the summer is what it's going to have to be. I think it's also a blessing in disguise. We do have some amazing youth products at Chelsea, and you know, it'd be nice to see some of them come through. Obviously, we've already spoken about Hudson-Odoi. I think Loftus-Cheek's finally starting to see some minutes, a lot more. Christensen as well, who's already in the squad. You've got the likes of Mason Mount in the Championship, Reece James, Jay Da Silva. There's some amazing players out there which I definitely think could aid us in the progress. And I think the one thing that Chelsea are suffering at the minute is a lack of soul. Yes, we beat Tottenham Hotspur, but it's kind of a case of when Chelsea want to turn up, they turn up. If they're not that bothered, you know, it can go either way. And I personally, you know, this transfer ban, it really depends how we go in the market. If we actually act correctly and get the correct transfers in and, you know, really move instead of trying to barter 2 million off the price tag, then, you know, I think that we will be in a much more sustainable position going into the next 18 months afterwards, rather than basically panicking and signing, I don't know, some B-Tech, even a B-Tech Danny Drinkwater, going to sign Kouyaté for 46 million or some crap like that. But it's kind of a case of, we need to move correctly and just do it right. But I think more likely than not, if we to answer your main question, if we don't get quad Champions League, I can see Hazard leaving, and I think I don't really blame him. 7 years of service. Thank you very much. Have fun.
In terms of Sunday, how do you see it going? 2:05 kick-off.
We should win.
Yeah,
should touch wood. Oh no, just listen. It's football. It really depends. You've got that new manager bounce with Scott Parker, so it could be a case of we should come here and we should batter you. We should. I'm saying should have put 3 past minimum. That's my opinion. You guys are poor defensively. Or this isn't me slating you. This is me just saying how I see it. I just honestly I'll be disappointed if we don't. After that Tottenham result, I think the biggest thing is for me, look, against City, the Kepa situation, you already mentioned it, I think that overshadowed how good we were in that game. Our containment, the way we moved the ball, we were pragmatic yet stylish at the same time. We had some amazing counter-attacking football, some amazing progressive football as well. But then Kepa went and did that, and obviously the penalty shootout, it's a lottery, you don't know what's going to happen. But then obviously the biggest thing I say is, look, after this game, with Tottenham, we need to move forward. We need to get those results. And after such a poor month of what we had, basically losing to all the big teams, getting knocked out of the FA Cup, 6-0 by City, and then obviously playing Spurs, which was the game everyone was already worried about before the City Cup final, we needed the result and we went and got it. So now we just need to build. And I think for me, a minimum 3 goals against a team which you're saying is pretty much set to go down, which doesn't really seem to be functioning correctly, doesn't on all 4 wheels. We really should be taking advantage of that situation, and we should be doing far better than we could potentially do if we do end up losing that game.
Chelsea have had some really bad publicity today, this season, on and off the pitch. You talk about the Raheem Sterling situation, Kepa, Arrizabalaga. There's just been a few things. Chelsea always get a bad name, but that's why Fulham fans don't like you down the road. And is there anything that you want to say about the whole situation? Because I know it's not all Chelsea fans. And there's been some trouble in the Europa League with the fans and this chanting. It's bad.
Yeah, the Europa League one, that I think, to be honest, the case has been dropped because, to be honest, speaking to people that were in that end, nothing major was said. And if something major was said, it was 3 people. And it was completely blown out of proportion. Yet again, I personally feel it's because it is Chelsea Football Club. Chelsea do have a stigma attached to them. We always have. I think if you look back at the 1980s, the National Front used Chelsea as an opportunity to, flog their ideologies. And you'd had National Front badges outside Stamford Bridge. Paul Cannaville, our first back player, an amazing player as well, would be having issues, be racist chanting at him. The club itself had a massive issue with hooliganism, and then obviously the Premier League came and tried to redevelop all of that. And I think that we tried to move it forward, and I think, to be honest, it really is not a large section of Chelsea fans. The Paris incident, which people always bring up saying all Chelsea fans are racist. I went to Arsenal when we played them. I got called a racist. Myself, I'm not a racist. I've been called sexist. I've been called racist. I've been called anything under the sun just because I'm a Chelsea fan. And I'm not saying boo-hoo, woe is me. I'm just saying, look, like, it's racism and sexism and all these integrations which people are attaching to Chelsea and football as well. It's a societal issue. It is not a Chelsea Football Club issue. It's not a football issue. It's deep-rooted, and it's something which everyone needs to work together to try and make sure it deteriorates, because it is disgusting. I mean, the Raheem Sterling thing, I don't know what's come of that. I mean, everyone was talking about whether whether he was racist, or was talking about the fact he plays for Man City. Obviously, I'm not going to say what they said. I think everyone knows full well what was said. But look, for me, instead of putting it all on a club, put it on the person. Put it on the people that was the issue. It's there. It's not me. I think it's really unfair that Chelsea get this reputation because of a few idiots. And I'm sure, look, Fulham's definitely had issues. Arsenal have had issues with the Arsenal Stormtroopers, for example. No one speaks about that anymore. No one speaks about Manchester United and Ji-sung Park and Kagawa. I think it's kind of a case of, and even Romelu Lukaku, that was only spoken about because someone raised it. Look, the fact remains,
it's everywhere, isn't it?
It's everywhere, and it needs to be addressed correctly rather than just stigmatising it to one group of people.
I mean, when you put it like that, it's very unfair. And let's move on to a score prediction and maybe a starting 11 prediction as well.
A starting 11, I think, is pretty easy. I think based on who we played midweek, I think there will be a few players rested. Ideally, I'm going to go with what I want, then I'll give you what I think Sarah will play. Look, I think it'll be Kepa in goal. I think that's irrespective of both. It'll be a 4-3-3. I reckon Emerson will come in for this game. I think there's going to be a steady rotation now between him and Marcus Alonso. Emerson proved in the cup final what he's capable of. So dynamic on the ball, moves the ball really well, and with that extra bit of pace, that extra yard in comparison to Marcus Alonso, who did play well against Tottenham Hotspur, no doubt. Emerson is definitely a player which I prefer in terms of that, to offer that dynamism down that left-hand side. Your two centre halves would be David Luiz and Rudiger. That's pretty set. And then for me, as much as he's probably the worst player we have, I think Davide Zappacosta, I might even consider starting him in this game, only because Azpilicueta is pretty much dead after playing 90 minutes on Wednesday night and 120 minutes on Sunday. You know, he kind of really needs that. Yeah, it was Wednesday. What am I talking about? He needs a rest. He does, and I think that's one of our weak points as well, because he's no longer a right back. Obviously, he's fantastic. He's a fantastic player, no doubt about it. He's our club captain. You know, he's done it all. He's proven what he is capable of on multiple occasions. Last season, statistically, the best defender on the planet. But unfortunately, if you had Session on playing who had a bit of pace down that left-hand side, if they get past him, it's game over for him. You can see when players get older, you see the grit of the teeth. You see they know they've lost that yard of pace, and I think Azpilicueta is that player. And considering he's also played 180 minutes recently, he was basically season up at the end of the game against Tottenham, he needs a rest, otherwise he's going to get injured, and Davide Zappacosta will be our starter. But I think I'd start him and have Azpilicueta on the bench in case we need to shore it up, so maybe he gets a couple of minutes. We'll start Azpilicueta though. Your three, Jorginho's always going to start. It's Jorginho, and he's Sarri's boy. Three midfield for me, I'd have to say Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek is an amazing talent, which I think he's been massively overshadowed this year because he hasn't been playing as much as the likes of Ross Barkley or Mateo Kovacic. Mateo Kovacic had a decent game against Tottenham. Ross Barkley, again, okay against Man City, but the game management wasn't great from Ross Barkley. Mateo Kovacic is too slow for me. I think he's very bulky, and having him and Jorginho on the pitch definitely makes us just pass rather than have, again, that sense of dynamism. If you look down that left-hand side, everyone will remember that scoop turn in the cup final. Cut out 4 people. Emerson was there as well to offer support because his pace, and Hazard on the left-hand side. You had some amazing movement, and I think that'd be our key strength in this game if Loftus-Cheek was to start. Also his physicality. Hazard could drift in, he could move out wide. The sense of movement is always something which is amazing when they're all playing together. So for me, I think he'd have to start that game. And then my other midfield player would be N'Golo Kante, who is right now for me probably the best central midfielder on the planet. Mainly.
Not Paul Pogba?
Him or Paul Pogba. Both of them have been superb. I think under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Paul Pogba's had the strings removed. He's had that sense of freedom which he thrives off of. I think that N'Golo Kante, though, he has been. I think he's been forgotten about because people always bang on about how he's being played out of position. He shouldn't be playing there, he shouldn't be doing this, he shouldn't be doing that. You watch that City game, you watch that game against Tottenham Hotspur, every blade of grass was covered. He is a box-to-box midfielder. He aids in the attacks. If he can offload the ball quickly, he can do it, or he can win the ball further up the pitch, which means you've got the likes of Higuain, Pedro, Willian, Hazard, Hudson-Odoi can literally just stay up there and have that mental strength and that capability just to go for it. And I think, he is definitely up there as one of the best right now. He's always, people talk about him being the best defensive midfielder on the planet. Yeah, he is. He is.
Well, you're forgetting one player.
Who are you talking about?
Stephanie Hansen.
Stephanie. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, cool.
Miss you, Steph.
Scotty Parker, mate, was all right for you, wasn't he?
Scott Parker gets the ball, he does a little roundabout and then plays the ball.
Yeah, much like Mateo Kovacic does. So it's kind of the case of I think N'Golo Kante for me was and is unreal as a player. And I think he's genuinely in that argument now for, one of the best defence midfielders on the planet ever. He's in that conversation with Makelele. Is it going to be the Makelele or the Kante role? Who knows? But to be honest, they are both superb players. Both played for Chelsea, but had an amazing career. Both illustrious. And Kante right now is unreal. He'll be in both 11s as well. And then if you go for the front three, Hazard will start because he came off against Spurs, being prepared for this game, I believe. I reckon he'll start Higuain. I personally don't think Higuain's been all that this season. We've got a loan to the end of the season. I think I'd leave it at that. People are debating whether to extend it or not. I personally don't think that he's not been all that. He might do right against you guys because of the calibre of the players he's against. Because we saw against Huddersfield, he banged a couple because he was they're not that great. And all due respect, I think you guys are you know, in that conversation as well. So he could do well against you guys. But if you know, chances are, I don't think he'll do all that. I don't think he has been, but he'll probably start. And on the right hand side for me, it has to be Hudson-Odoi.
Great. No, I'd like to see him play.
He's so direct, so powerful. For such a young guy, he has that traditional sense of young players have no fear. That aids in the situation as well. I think that he's a superb talent, and you know, I think that he's definitely someone who's going to go on to be one of England's best. He's personally, you know, I watched the Youth Cup final a couple of years back. It was him versus Jadon Sancho, and I think pretty much every single person that was in that press box. And now, if you asked anybody who was there, you know, he was better than Jadon Sancho. The problem is Jadon Sancho's been given the platform to go do better. Hudson-Odoi deserves that platform. Yeah. And we saw against Manchester City. He was causing problems. He was putting the balls in. He was moving well, and again, that dynamism. It was something which we look so good with, and he has to start for me. But again, I think the chance are be Pedro or Willian for Sarri. Willian has been. A lot of fans will say that Willian is a player which is, I'd love to have. I think he's superb. You look at the statistics. You look at what he does. For us, he slows the play down. He takes a second too long to move the ball, which then leads to either us failing to attack or them winning it back and going on the counter. I think that is something which we definitely struggle with. Pedro, for me, you know, if I was looking at Pedro or Willian, who to offer a new contract to, despite him being 2 years older or a year older, Pedro gets it for me. Okay. He's definitely it's the physicality, the strength, the persistence that he has as a player, the off the ball movements. I think Pedro is a far superior player to Willian. Chances are Willian will start because Pedro played. I think he played a full 90, didn't he, Scott? Yes, he played a full 90 against Spurs, so he'll probably come off. But yeah, I think so. For me, the team. I'll dumb it down. I guess I've gone through it. Kepa will probably start 100%. I'd say Emerson, David Luiz, Rudiger. I'd start Zappacosta. Chances are he might play Aspilicueta just because he can. Because Sarri is renowned for not rotating, and that caused an injury. If you look at Gulam last season, that was a big issue. Jorginho, Loftus-Cheek, Kante. I think that would be the three. I'd then go with, it'll be Hazard, Higuain, and either Hudson-Odoi or Willian. Okay. But I think you know we should come to this game and we should really, you know, play with a bit of a flourish.
Louis, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is Fulhamish. We're outside Craven Cottage. We just previewed the game between Fulham and Chelsea, where it's basically a last chance. If we don't get 3 points, that is that. And I've said that for 3 weeks in a row now, so it's kind of over anyway. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you on Sunday. We'll do fan cams over there. I'm sure we'll be joined by Louis after the game as well, and probably Lewis as well. Thanks very much. Please like, subscribe, and yeah, come on, Fulham.